All right, good day, LA, and welcome to another episode of To Live and Buy in Los Angeles. I'm your host, Zach Goldsmith, alongside my first mate over here, Ben Belloc from White Lotus. Our guest today is a vice chairman at Newmark, correct?
Correct.
Don't speak yet.
Don't talk during the intro.
Whoa. A commercial real estate services company. He may be best recognized for his for-lease and leased, more importantly, signs on buildings throughout the streets of Los Angeles. But his range in the industry includes representing some of the world's most notable fashion brands for their retail and office locations, entertainment companies, and other businesses in finding their corporate headquarters, and for selling investment properties, including being a part of some of the biggest deals in the history of our city. If you have visited Los Angeles over the past 20 plus years, you've seen this man's name on almost every single building with a vacancy in the entire city. It's perplexing, actually.
I don't get it.
He is by far the biggest player in commercial real estate in the city of Los Angeles. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to welcome to the show
Jay Luchs.
Jay Luchs.
Thank you. I'm allowed to talk now, right?
Now you can go.
That was beautiful. Thank you. For real. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, I don't even know where to start with you. First of all, you got a phone call. Is it
you want to
true?
take it?
No, I'm not taking it.
Is this true that I read that you get a phone call an average of every 5 to 7 minutes?
Someone wrote that in a fun article years ago. I mean, I was sitting with her and the calls kept coming in. So she wrote what she wrote.
Oh, it's
what
happening
she saw.
now.
She wrote what she saw and it's happening now. So I guess so. I'm used to it, so I don't even know anymore.
You never go DND?
What's that?
You never go Do Not Disturb?
No, just I just clicked off and that was that. You know, I'll go and I'll call them back later.
But it's vibrating, so it's not off.
No, I don't ever go fully do not disturb.
What about when you're going to sleep?
If someone calls me during those hours, it's either going to be a big problem, right? Or I'll hurt them. It would be weird because my hours are like 12 to, let's say, 6:45 a.m. So I don't turn my phone off either. You do. You're a do not disturb guy in the middle of the night. I feel if it's important enough, I'm going to keep my phone on.
I have a theory behind it. My theory is that
I value my time.
I don't like people taking my time away from me. I like getting to them when I want to. So I check my stuff once every hour. Otherwise, I'm crushed as you are. I'm watching.
But I will say, after, let's say, 8 o'clock at night, maybe even 7, till the next morning at 8 a.m., I mean, I don't have that happening. That's all day, and then I get a break.
Ice cream time.
That's all you care. That's all anyone. I guess I've done a good job promoting my ice cream.
You have a lot of ice cream at your house. Just tell the truth.
I do.
What is this ice cream obsession I heard about?
It's just the same thing that a lot of kids in the world have. It's the same thing that a lot of humans have. I love ice cream.
Obsessed with ice cream.
I love ice cream.
You're going to say it's the same thing that kids and normal people have. Dude, he posts on Instagram. He's he's opening up a refrigerator. I'm like, dude, where's this McConnell's? Is this near where you live or whatever? He's like, no, this is my house. He's got
it's like a Cribs episode of ice cream.
80 pints of McConnell's.
Oh, no way.
It's a lot. It's part art. I'd like to pretend, but I do eat a lot of it.
Right.
It looks crazy when you open it, but I eat.
So it's McConnell's.
McConnell's is the one for me. I love the taste, but the owner is a great guy. He's like a real human. And he texted me yesterday. He goes, "What's your favorite flavor?" And I said salted caramel. Because what else? And I'm like, I keep buying those over and over. So it's a lot of salted caramel.
You had to Google.
And then he just
flavors.
texted me, "Did you get a delivery yet?" So he's sending me a delivery, which I find amazing. So the owner McConnell's is a friend, and he's sending a delivery today.
Whoa, this is a big issue brewing here. If this gets out and Craig sees this,
Craig's aware of it. Craig follows me on Instagram and has seen that he does have one. I mean, there's one Craig's vegan in my fridge. There used to be a lot more. I'm not a vegan ice cream eater. I go for the full sugar.
Right. Yeah. Craig's is all vegan ice cream. So delicious vegan.
If you're going to have vegan, you go to Craig's. If you're going to have the fattening, good tasting ice cream, you go to a McConnell's.
Whoa. That's a dig.
Not Jenny's.
And there's others. I have nothing bad to say about any of them, honestly. Salt and Straw, Jenny's, I could go down the list. But McConnell's is my personal favorite.
It's good. Wait, isn't the closest one in Silver Lake?
Palisades Village has one. I've been buying them at Bristol Farms and just loading up, and luckily,
boy, have you been loading!
A big delivery just showed up.
I'm still blown away at how much ice cream. Like, some people have a lot of wine at their house. You have a fuck ton of ice cream. Now, luckily, this is not an ice cream podcast. How can one man have the time to acquire so many listings in a city that covers over 500 square miles? Like, yo, I came to LA as an actor. I didn't know anything about real estate. I learned everything about real estate from the vendors and the inspectors, literally. And I knew even back then, this guy, Jay Luchs, had the market cornered. How is this possible that you have a monopoly over commercial real estate?
Again, thank you for the kind words. I live in paranoia, so I don't even really stop to think about it all. But if I did, it's like, it feels good, but I don't ever really allow myself to sit back and be like, this is crazy. My life is crazy, and I try to get as many listings and as many deals done as I can. Besides listings, there's tenants. I rep tenants. Mm-hmm. I sell buildings. You don't see signs up. So there's other aspects of the, of the real estate world besides just the signs. But it's just been years. I mean, I started out in 2003 with a listing on Rodeo Drive. And then it's been...
What do you mean you started out on Rodeo?
You're right. It sounds weird to say that. And it wasn't a big...
like saying I started out eating McConnell's.
Well, it was interesting to know how we got
skipped Dairy Queen?
Good point. I think it's important to note. In that year, it was like I was born. I had been doing real estate for a couple of years. Then I left and I went to...
Resi or commercial?
I went to an internet company called AOL, which no one watching has ever heard of. And then I went to Endeavor, which is now WME, in the mailroom in 2001 for 2 weeks.
Tom Strickler?
He was there, but it was Patrick Weitzel, Ari Emanuel, Richard Weitz, this whole crew of people that are all running things
right now.
What's that?
The lunatics right now.
I was in the mailroom, and it was an incredible experience. But I was 29 years old, and I was going to go back in time. I thought I could be a Hollywood agent. I was into it, and then I did get the first paycheck. It was $700 for 2 weeks. I was warned, but then when you see it, it's painful. So I was like, this is going to be years of just who knows what. And somehow the 2 weeks there, I met a lot of great people. I'm still friends with some people from the mailroom. That was it.
That's 4 minutes. We're just keeping a clock.
That person works for the agency, by the way. But maybe is this live?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know who that is. I know who it is.
But is it live?
We're not live.
Okay.
To the internet.
Okay. Then we won't say. It doesn't matter. But I was just.
She's nice. She's a nice gal.
person. So anyway, I dabbled in it. I worked at a company called Epstein and Associates. Michael Epstein, Epsteen, but yes, long hair, earrings, 4 dogs in the office. A master at retail expansion. And in the years that I worked there, in the 90s, this guy repped Starbucks, The Gap, Banana, Jamba Juice, and like in that era, the brands. So I was exposed to it, but without understanding what was happening and driving everywhere. Then I went to Endeavor, and then 2 weeks later, I went to a real estate company. I went back to a company I'd interviewed for, Insignia ESG. CBRE, a big behemoth, bought them 2 years later. So in 2003, I went on my own within CBRE, left downtown, went to the Century City office, and then was like reborn, like I'm saying. So I'd been in the business. I was thrown into it. I worked for others. And then I became my own person on my own in 2003. Brooks Brothers, which was Brooks Brothers. Rodeo Drive is a huge corner.
Santa Monica there.
Santa Monica.
Now Tommy
Hilfiger was there. Not now. That was actually the tenant in 2003 that had left. It was papered up for 3 years. I reached out to the Tommy Hilfiger people. I now know Tommy and think he's awesome. At the time, I called his lawyer. Was able to get the sublease of it. And I went out to the market with it and found Brooks Brothers. 15 years later, full circle, that owner hired me to sell the building. I sold it to LVMH along with the building next door and others, which they were going to develop a Cheval Blanc hotel there. They own all the real estate still. That's a different conversation that you would not want to get me started on because it relates to the residents of Beverly Hills turning down the Cheval Blanc, and that was about 2 months ago or less.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with it, and for many reasons, but we'll have a happy meeting today. We don't have to hear me, go off on that.
What do you think the turning point though was once a lot of agents are on their own, that they're with their mentor, but now like I said, your sign's everywhere. What do you think was there a deal that you started leveraging, or were you like, hey, I'm going to actually start trying to package these deals? I feel like in a way, like from reading your bio, it sounds like, in a way, at one point, a lot of the talent agents that we know that are friends, like they were like, you know what, we need to have all sides of the deal. We're not just going to have the script. We're going to have the director, the actors. We're going to have everyone. And it sounds like in many ways you package these things together.
I would like to say it's thought out that way. I think there's a true love I have for just being in the deal, landlord side, tenant side. So that means the landlord who owns the building. I know you guys know that, but in case people, and then the tenant who's looking. So if I'm helping Louis Vuitton or James Purse or Kith or whoever the brand, that's the tenant.
That's the best.
So when you're working with the tenant, you're out looking around that city or that town. When you're representing the landlord, that's where I have the sign that says for lease. Then you're looking to find a tenant. It could be a number of them. Then it gets to a point of, I don't own the street, but I have an obligation to this neighborhood to not ruin it. That's a different side of it. There are brokers that just want to slam a deal home. They get paid, they move on. But there's a long-term love that I have for Los Angeles, but I actually would care about any city, and I do deals in other cities, but New York too. But Los Angeles is like a true love. I moved here from Maryland in 1995. I love this town, and I care about each area of it, not just like West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Malibu. I love those. But you can't, if you can help it, slam in some random tenant that can ruin a block.
Yeah, I think it also helps your business and helps your clients to, it make them feel like you're doing a better job for them in the long run by building the neighborhood around them.
And you are doing that, whether they know it or not.
You become a partner more than just a broker.
And some landlords get that, and some really don't. But right? The most interesting part of business is when you're doing it for the community or yourself, not the landlord who doesn't care. Like I can
Sometimes
promise you,
they're like, "Fuck you, Jay. Don't do it for them. Do it for me."
No comment on the accents, but
you don't know where that's from.
There are a lot
it's ambiguous.
There are a lot of landlords who really don't necessarily care what you're doing for them. It's not, you're not trying to get a pat on the back. You're really doing it for the larger picture.
So you're not sticking a vaping shop in Rodeo.
Right.
He's tried.
By the way,
they won't have it.
The vaping shop. It really would never happen anyway, because if you look at numbers, it wouldn't make sense because of what I mean. It's really more about, and we know that. I know you're joking, but it's really more about the companies that can afford it, that want to be there because they're stretching, that you have to manage and be careful, because those are the ones that show up, and then it's selling out. So on a street like Rodeo Drive, keeping the level of all the LVMH brands, all the Kering brands, Hermes, Chanel, the list goes on. That's what that street is. And then there have been stores over the years that didn't belong, and those have gone to other streets, and they belong on those other streets. They can market themselves perfectly well. They also, though, did well on Rodeo Drive, so I'm not going to say they shouldn't have been there, but the luxury ones actually kind of don't benefit from lower line tenants on the street.
There's no co-op here, right? Like there's no board approval for this. Like what's stopping some mega wealthy guy from opening some shitty store on Rodeo Drive because he's got the money to fund it?
Well, the landlord wants a certain financial statement from a tenant, number one. So if you're doing a deal on Rodeo, it happens on every street. We could talk about that too. But on Rodeo, they're paying millions and millions of dollars a year. So if let's just say there's 1,000-foot space on a random street and the rent is $5 a foot per month, that's $5,000 a month. On Rodeo Drive, that 1,000 feet, it's $100,000 a month. I mean, it's different. Number two, they need to put up a financial statement. So like you guys do in the residential world, can we see proof of funds? We have a similar thing. Can we see financials?
Sure.
It happens very soon after the offer goes in. We like to tell our tenants, if they're not to that level, which on every other street, you do want to prepare a tenant, you're going to be asked for financials. On Rodeo Drive, if it's one of the big brands, they're just saying, we are public, or this is our entity within a conglomerate. We're signing with XYZ company LLC, but within that conglomerate, it's every US store. That's $1 billion signature. And you're like, okay. Or you can look it up online. I mean, so Rodeo Drive, like Madison Avenue and Fifth Avenue and other streets in the world, is similar. You're really getting luxury, and most of the time, the financials are the reason why the landlords want them. They're as good as you'll ever get in the whole world.
And do they sign like this is just me being curious here. How long is like a standard lease for one of the big dogs on Rodeo?
10 years with a 5-year option. So a normal deal is 10 years plus 1 5-year option at fair market value. That option is the tenant's option. The landlord does not want to agree that it can go negative on those 10 years in the renewal. So let's say the market's worse. You don't sign a lease that actually goes the other direction. It's 10 plus 5, no less than the prior year's rent. That's simple. So that's how that is. Free rent is important in TI in the world. TI does not happen on Rodeo Drive and a lot of streets. It's called tenant improvement dollars. Malls do it, and new construction, you'll see a lot of TIs. But on a street like Rodeo Drive or Beverly or Cannon or Robertson or Melrose or Malibu or you name it, any street, Abbott Kinney, 10 years plus a 5, 4 or 5 months of free rent, 3% annual increases. Some landlords try to get more. And no TIs because you're delivering a vanilla shell. It's a space that's got electric and HVAC and plumbing ready to go, and it's a clean space.
You're still getting the free rent. It's just not classified as TI, then, right?
True. Yeah. You could say it's TI, but it's really not. Right. TIs is usually on top of free rent if you're getting TI. Everyone gets free rent.
You mentioned Robertson. I was going to ask you, what happened to Robertson?
It's a great question, and it's a good example of what happens. Pandemic was most recently. No, I September 3rd, 2008. We're talking about
Robertson Boulevard, one of the great shopping streets in all of Los Angeles. That was in its prime when? In the 90s, early 2000s?
In 2008, it died on September 3rd. There was a finance. I know it well. I had 4 offers on the corner. Tiffany, Colhan, All Saints, and one other tenant.
When you say on the corner, you mean where? I was going to say All Saints, and you just beat me to it.
Where All Saints ended up.
Yeah.
It's across from the Ivy restaurant. And there was a financial crisis of 2008, and it was on September 3rd that everything changed, and everyone pulled out. Every tenant pulled out of that corner at that time. Here's what can happen on a street like Robertson Boulevard, where we're trying our best to bring it back, and I can tell you some of the positives that are happening.
Prime traffic. It's right in the center of everything. It's mind blowing.
So when a street has many different landlords, and many different ones that are not experts in retail. There's not a committee. There's not a committee of people. They don't care if someone gives them a hard time. They sign for themselves and they're out. Those are the kind of landlords that take any tenant. I watched a landlord.
Mom and pop stuff.
It is like that, yes. And they've been sitting on their real estate for a long time. They got it. It's inherited. They don't understand, and they think they're geniuses. And they're really not. So they think they know everything. And then they start coming up with the most bizarre things. So that's what can happen on a street like that, where a lot of different landlords owned. Some are great, some aren't. I mean, there's some great ones too. I have one of my favorite landlords in the world owns a building on Robertson Boulevard. He also owns Rodeo Drive and Madison Avenue, New York, and Meatpacking, all sorts of great streets.
Wow.
Well, does he have a daughter? Oh shit, I'm married.
So a lot of different. On this podcast we talk a lot about scary headlines, a lot, and there are many scary headlines right now around brick and mortar. Is there opportunity right now, or is the sky falling?
It's a great question. It's going to be talked about a lot. I have to be careful how I answer it because it's serious stuff.
We want your hot take.
It's not like a joke in the world because people are going to lose their butts right now. People who don't deserve to are going to because of many reasons. The interest rates are up. In Los Angeles, the writers' strike and now the actors' strike, that is not a joke. You're going to feel it. I'm feeling it.
The Amazon. I mean, that's probably the biggest killer of brick and mortar, right?
Well, that's yes. I'm just speaking strictly like currently right now.
Yeah. The
strike and the interest rates are going to really affect everything. Amazon and brick and mortar. Yeah, we want to talk about that. While Amazon and the internet have taken from retail, I think what's being learned is retail, brick and mortar, a physical store, is actually where a tenant has to be because they make more money selling out of the stores. The return rate online is 50%.
Oh,
That's
is that
huge.
right? Whoa.
Okay. It's break even or lose money. If you go look at Walmart and the bigger companies and Target, That's where a lot of things are judged. They look at these big mainstream companies, but the online world has such a return issue that there isn't as much profit as you think. They're really there for defense. Amazon's their own thing, different story, but I'm just telling you.
Wait, when you say return, just so we're clear, you mean a return of investment or return of patronage?
No,
you return the shirt.
Oh, you return the shirt.
And then they can't use the shirt, and then it's gone,
You're
and then
less
you lost
likely to drive to the brick and mortar, return it in person, deal with the person when you
or
can
you
just
chose it and you liked it.
Right.
So,
right. Big difference. That's
Right.
probably the biggest difference. You tried it on, it fits, it works on you, rather than you're seeing it on a computer screen. And
so
maybe
think
it
about
does,
that.
Maybe it doesn't.
So the importance is brick and mortar is either back or it's always been here, but it's back stronger than ever. So as you're talking about what's going on in the world, and I'm saying it's kind of scary times, retail is now like the golden child versus office and investment sales, which is dead right now because no one wants to sell. Sellers and buyers are completely off on what value is.
Our world too.
Yeah, I know. In residential, without a doubt.
Yeah, sellers think it's 2021 and buyers think it's 2008.
There you go. And it's 2008. But no, I'm just kidding. The reason it's not 2008 and they're both kind of right in their own way is because there's so much less available. There's not a lot of property, whether it's residential. In my world, if you ask me to find a space on Rodeo
Your
Drive,
inventory is
not
super
finding
low.
it. Super low. Beverly Drive, Cannon Drive, Malibu, every Abbott Kinney cannot find a space. So my point is, retail is actually growing. Brands, think about what goes on in retail now. If it's Louis Vuitton, they're partnering with Pharrell. If it's Supreme, they did a Louis Vuitton collaboration years ago. We could go on and on about the names of people. Off-White, go down the list of who is like hip, cool, and important as a fashion designer to a luxury brand. So luxury brands have even gotten into the hipster cool world of just collabs and whatnot. We've all witnessed it together.
Well, Gucci and Tom Ford was one of the initial big ones, wasn't it?
Tom Ford was like their designer.
Yeah, he's a designer.
I think more than that is
you mean stretching outside
the collaboration, kind of like
music and fashion. Athletes in fashion.
Influencers,
and then Kith is kind of like the bridge.
Well, Kith is one of the most incredible ones. Ronnie is a legend. I know him very well. He is the master at collaborating. So, for example, there were 10 BMWs made last year, I think it was, that he designed worldwide.
They're so sick.
Yeah, so you can't get them. Point is, like, he designed it. It's like a green with beige interior, stick shift, M series design, and it says Kith on the back, but it's BMW. That's an example. He also did a collab with Coca-Cola, Adidas,
Roger Federer. The list is forever.
Yeah, and
Marvel.
it sells out. So he does like a short-term collab, and everything sells out. Years ago, Supreme did the same thing with Louis Vuitton. I actually found their location in the Arts District. 2-week deal, third night, done. Everything sold out. They had to shut it down because the lines were so long, and it got dangerous. So
pop-ups.
Those are pop-ups. We don't love pop-ups in this business because you don't make anything from it. It takes time. But if it's a friend, you do it. Like, I love art, so I've done art gallery ones. If it's someone, like I just did Forward, where John Varvatos was on Melrose. I don't get anything out of it, but they were cool. So I did that. I did the pop-up for them. They're going to be out. And then there's even Emma Marciano, who's the Marciano daughter. I know her. She and her partner, who's great, wanted a 3 or 4 day. We made it happen. Again, nothing. You don't get anything from it, but it's
like
cool.
why we
You're
do
giving
leases.
back.
No, it's also relationship equity that's important, and I know that's obviously a really important part of your business. You were just talking about how there's no inventory when referencing 2008. So you're like, there's no inventory on all these ultra pedigreed locations. What is Cross Creek Village?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Of course you are.
And are you putting a Bed Bath & Beyond there?
It's funny.
That's prime space now.
By the way,
where is
they would
Beyond,
do fine.
by the way?
They would do fine. You know why that could never happen there?
This is the latest brick and mortar to go down, right? The biggest.
But by the way, the brands are Kith. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that actually.
Yes,
but it's on the plan. But it's not. It's really not
anything that you don't
how are
like.
you gonna say it?
It's fine.
You can't say it. You say the stuff on your Instagram. You tease who's coming.
I didn't say Kith.
Oh yeah, okay,
and
you
I'm
did.
saying it now. I have to be. Whose dog?
It's Bennett. This guy has no respect.
I love
for
dogs.
us.
I do love dogs.
He has no respect for us.
There are
I have
various
no respect for you
brands.
outside of the podcast.
No, I said Bennett.
No,
has
I
respect
have
for
no
us.
respect for you outside of the podcast. So I get it.
But the reason a large tenant like that couldn't go into Malibu, so they have a retail ordinance from 10 plus years ago that if you have if you have 10 or more stores in your whole chain, you're considered a formula retailer. If you are, you can't do a store over 4,000 feet. Okay, so think about that. If you're Bed Bath & Beyond, but we would not do that in Malibu. But if you're a movie theater.
So this is like a covenant? It's like a CC&R
It's
covenant.
very difficult to reverse. And it came about in 2005 and 6 when the internet was just taking over the world. And I don't even honestly think Instagram was out yet. I just think it was a different time. And the local community there, the older generation, thought change. And they thought that like the tenants were being kicked out. And
you want to take that?
I don't think it's mine, actually. No, it's not.
Oh, it's mine.
So I understand in theory protecting a community, but the people that fought it and killed it, they didn't shop anyway. They were angry, and they do it in every city. So it's not just Malibu, but they won. They actually won, and it was just a bizarre thing because if you're a mom and pop business, you're already hurting because of the online world, because of insurance, because of whatever. You can't just open a store these days that easily. Pay rent. The taxes alone are too much for a tenant. So the mistake in doing what they did is that you can't mix the shoe repair guy, who's still there, luckily,
with double RL.
With like, you can't mix it when you're killing the big names. You can't have all mom and pops because it won't work. Like there's no one could buy it.
You need anchor tenants.
I mean, if you're buying a property, you are in it to gradually raise rent over time and make it more valuable. I mean, if we went and bought a property, you don't want it to go down. If whoever fought the Malibu situation really wanted to make money in their lifetime, they would buy a property, want it to go up. So when someone buys a shopping strip, they're putting money into it, they're redesigning it, they're putting love and care into it, but they're also trying to get tenants that can pay better rent with better financials to then sell it. We did buy it for X and sold it for X. 3 years later, we bought it for $60 million. We sold it for $120. We put in Sephora. We put in Lululemon, Chipotle at the time, and they're still there.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of, I can't even remember all our tenants right now. SoulCycle went in. So we did a lot of deals, and we kept the shoe repair and all these others, and we made it work. But it was complicated because at the time there was a brand that we wanted to move over because Lululemon had to have Radio Shack. Radio Shack was a local great tenant that sold batteries and everything that people needed, but the space next to it was not for formula retail, so we couldn't do it. It was like a mess. Because beyond the 4,000 feet rule, you can only have a certain amount of your center national, 30%. Okay? Now, let's skip past all that because I don't want to bore anyone with Malibu rules. Malibu is the greatest place in the world.
Wait, so your job sucks too?
There's issues. There's a lot to deal with. I used to speak in front of a room of hundreds of people hissing in Malibu. All we were doing, I didn't know what I was getting myself into at first. It was 10 years of this. I was representing the developers.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
We all did our best. We got great brands there. And in the end, the brands that we put in are there and they've been renewing and people go and they spend money. So think about what does formula mean? I mean, someone's doing something right. Mm-hmm. The difference is we want to get good retailers, not lame ones. I think there should be a rule like they have to be good tenants, right?
Sure.
So at least you have an ambassador to an area. Like I'd like to think of me for the cities I work in. I'm going to protect my area. For Malibu, I'm doing the damn best that I can to put the right restaurants, retail, etc. So Cross Creek Ranch.
Yeah. Ranch. I called it Village. Sorry.
It's okay. Malibu Village is a property that I just mentioned, which I called it Malibu Village because I grew up in Potomac Village. Mm-hmm. Changed the name from Cross Creek Plaza. It's now Malibu Village, and Stan Kroenke just bought it. I have nothing to do with it anymore. I am the leasing agent on the property next to Whole Foods called Cross Creek Ranch.
Yeah.
It's 112,000 feet. It has 60,000 feet of retail. That's a lot of retail. Okay, this space we're in is like 7,000 or 8,000 feet. That's 60,000. It's 11 or 12 acres or something. Then there's 10,000 of restaurants and 42,000 of offices. There's 550 parking spaces. This will transform and be the modern day Country Mart, and it's an extension for all the people we all know that love good food and good current hip retailers. The other projects in Malibu, when a space comes up, they get one tenant, that's it, because it's full. One, then that's a good one, they offered X, let's take them. What we're doing is curating from dirt. It took 18 years to get to this point. Two owners. I got hired 4 years ago when it was dirt. I actually introduced the ownership to Marmel Radziner, an incredible architect.
Yeah. So good.
You know them from residential. I've loved them. They did some stuff at Mount Lumberyard with James Purse back in the day. They did a million things. Tom Ford's house, but they have the vibe. They have like this mid-century vibe, but also
it's organic, it's woodsy, it goes with the terrain.
100%. In fact, their design. No, you said it perfectly. You did.
Woodsy.
You did.
Yes,
Their design.
More to grab to.
If you look at it, blends in with the mountains behind it. So these buildings are like beige and stone and black and gray. And you look, and the mountains behind it are similar. Like
camouflage.
I mean, it's kind of like camouflage.
Is this to the left of the Whole Foods where all the Tesla chargers are?
It is.
Yeah.
And then,
Go.
The backdrop are the mountains. So I was just going to say, like, it's insanely nice. Like you're in Aspen or something.
No. And you turn the other way, and it's the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
So
what I was going to ask you is I guess you don't really need a pitch anymore. You know, when Zach and I bring in Mauricio into deals, you know, we're hedging sometimes, right? I guess, you know, and Mo doesn't bring like really like a listing presentation. It's like you don't need one anymore. I guess my question for you is at what point did you become a curator? Did you learn that from someone else? And if you did you learn this curation thing from another field, or do you think there's anyone else in your field, either in LA or not, that also does curation when it comes to commercial space?
Okay, good questions. I have what I could call competitors, but I call them my friends. I don't need to name them, but there's probably 3 or 4 other groups that I'm friends with, just like...
Sounds like Santi. He's like, they are my friends, but I
well,
would
they
kill
are.
them if I have to.
Well, you're competing with other brokers, but think about it.
Yeah, we got to work with them.
They're your biggest client ever, too. If you're getting a call, if you can call Mauricio right now and get him on the phone, you're a powerful person because he's powerful, let's say, right? Well, access to other brokers is power. Imagine when you're with a client and they're like, can you find out? And it's like ringing and ringing, you can't get through. Now you're just nothing. You call and they answer, and now you go, oh yeah, it's 3,000 feet, and you start giving details. Now you're powerful.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. It's on my Instagram. Knowledge is power. It's like my life. It's my saying in the world. Knowledge is power. So other brokers are giving us knowledge. We're giving it to them. And in the perfect world, we should be more friendly. And a lot of us that are smart are. But that doesn't mean you're not going to not like people and they're not going to upset you and talk about you. Jay's not going to pick up his phone. Okay, they say what they want. I get it. I hear about it. Luckily, I have a team that gets all the calls, and then I send emails and texts all day long, and we're all on it. But if someone wants to talk negatively, he won't answer. Whatever. I mean, they can say what they want.
Always.
We get deals done. I think that's the important part.
But back to the curation angle.
Yeah.
When did you make that decision to make that part of the way you describe it? It sounds like it's part of the way with which you identify with your craft. This sounds really important to you. And it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, this Cross Creek Ranch is going to be a major curation because you have a canvas that is blank. It's from the dirt up.
You're saying it perfectly. I'm going to tell you a few tenets in a minute. And that
do we get the secret ones? Like
that is a secret one. It really is. And I just said it, so I don't want to get like fully in trouble. But
don't worry, no one watches this.
But I'm going to mention a few things. But it wasn't planned. But in 2004, 5, and 6, a lady named Karen Klein that I worked with at Epstein got the listing on Malibu Lumberyard. And I was brought in, and she was not really in the mood to. She was kind of like starting to retire, and I'm bringing you in. I'm giving you this listing, and I literally. It was the greatest experience of my life. Every Thursday, I'd go to Richard Weintraub's house and Richard Sperber. These two guys were partners in this property for 3 years, talking about tenants, going through our updates, and it was in my hands to call everyone. So my tenants at the time, and the point is, I loved the curation. It was probably the first time it was to this level where they were giving me the keys. But it was James Purse, Maxfield, J. Crew at the Beach, Randy Gerber's restaurant, what is it called? Cafe Habana. We did that deal.
Cafe, yeah.
Intermix, Tory Burch, Kitson. We did some really cool stuff there. And James is still there. Maxfield is still there. James is kind of taking over the whole property right now. And he's a good friend and client. That's just a perfect example of Malibu and California. You know, he's like the guy, the brand. He's a person, but the brand itself represents California well. So the curation of that was exciting. And I just found recently an original piece of paper that I drew out. My first tenant was Scoop. They're an old tenant. Intermix is the most similar. They were around in 2005. They were very popular, multi-brand, selling all the cool brands. And then James Purse and Maxwell, they were all like a Target. James left the property next door, opened in this former actual cabin, like lumberyard cabin. When I was hired, it was called Malibu Gardens. I asked the landlord, do you mind if I keep the name Lumberyard? It's a lumberyard. They looked at each other and said, if it's legally okay, sure. We kept it as Malibu Lumberyard because I said it would lease better. When I send out flyers, I like to send them at a time in the morning when people get time to read it. We worked so hard that day in 2004 on blasting the flyer out. We sent it Friday at like 10 p.m. East Coast time, 7 p.m. our time in LA.
This would be the worst time.
Worst time you're going to send something. I got more responses than I've ever gotten in my life on that property. It was really crazy. So that was an era where Ralph Lauren wanted in. We couldn't give him space. Mickey Drexler, the owner of J. Crew, called Richard Weintraub directly and asked, how do we get in here? What's going on? It was like that kind of thing, lack of space. And then over the years, there were ups and downs in Malibu. Their fires were awful. Here's what happened. And then I'll go back to the curation in a second because this is relating to
You're
it.
dodging it.
I ain't dodging it because it's my number one
This is all part
passion
of it.
and it's my number one thing in my
This
life.
has been with you your whole career.
It's just naturally evolving more and more. COVID changed a lot of cities.
Yeah.
For the better, for the worse and for the better. In Aspen and Palm Beach and Miami and the Hamptons and Malibu, it was the best thing that ever happened.
Palm Springs.
People bought houses, all of it. Santa Barbara, people bought houses. That's not mine. Houses, stores got rented. You couldn't find a space. So here's where we are today. We have this property sitting in between the ocean and the mountains that's large, that's beautiful, that has multiple restaurants. I'm going to share them with you right now, retail and parking and everything. So now the job becomes, how do we get everyone on site? How do we do it? Because each store takes time. You don't just get it. You know, I'll walk around and people are in different neighborhoods and they go, oh, they put them there. It's like as if the government put them there. They, you know, and it's like people think it's this planned thing, like we're giving it to you. Well, in a mall, yeah, it is like that. I mean, if you're going to do the Grove or Century City, Rick Caruso does a great job of it in his properties. They are doing that, but you have to get the tenant. You can't make up the tenant. You could, but like you don't do that. You're getting a tenant with.
But those tenants are 5 years out. I mean, you're signing tenants now with a promise of delivering something in years from now.
We're trying to open in April of 24. I mean, the property's built. So now what we're doing is, it's been 2 years of leasing. Kith was, oh my gosh, I said it again. The first tenant that we signed. And with them, we were able to talk without publicly doing it, but verbally to tenants. We have this one and this one and that one. So here's what's in addition. Clark's Oyster Bar. Do you know what that is out of Aspen and Austin?
Isn't there? No, but isn't there one?
There's a Broad Street Oysters, and it's
Broad
different.
Street. Okay.
They're cool. They're awesome. Clark's Oyster Bar is a more higher end. It's probably going to get a little bit more of the Lucky's Nobu crowd at night and lunchtime casual, but a bar scene. The doors slide open, and there's a bar. And it's going to be a bar because Malibu doesn't really have bar scenes.
Is Malibu about to turn into Newport Beach?
There's people telling me they want to like buy right near here. Here's what I'll tell you. We got Clark's Oyster Bar. We got Pura Vida Miami. We have the brand I'm not allowed to mention their name, doing an ice cream thing where they sell ice cream and other things. We have Chit Chat Coffee going in.
He's sponsored by McConnell's. He can't say the other ice cream.
It's Kith Treats, if you know what that is.
Oh, okay. I love soft serve.
So they're on Rodeo Drive. They're at Sunset Boulevard, and they're around the world.
I love Kith. I wear a lot of their clothes.
Right. So imagine Kith Treats in Malibu. How insane that's going to be.
Sick.
Right. So you're going to have that. Then you're going to have Chit Chat Coffee. We are bringing back Malibu Kitchen, which was booted out of Cross Creek. That's a deli bakery. They also make large cookies. The guy he puts
that place.
My name
Great
on them.
deli, great sandwiches.
He was really cool because I tried to help him stay as he was getting kind of moved. And he respected it so much that he made this huge cookie and he put my name on it. And he keeps giving me deliveries because he wants to make sure he gets on the property.
A lot of deliveries of dessert.
This is a true delivery.
Dessert. You should be a lot heavier.
I work out every day and I'm gaining a few
because
pounds.
of the delivery
Every
system.
day, like 2 hours a day. Because
Wait,
if you're
is
going
he gone? Malibu Kitchen's out?
He's been out for months.
Now, how does your project affect Kroenke?
Well, our side, until Kroenke just bought Malibu Village, has always been the Civic Center area. Kroenke owns where Ralph's is, and it's
not the same pedigree.
Service center.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful
Subway, Ralph's,
1,000 parking spaces. But yes, it's not high-end fashion, and it won't be. It's not going to.
What's he going to do there?
Nothing. There's nothing to do. He's got Chase Bank. He's got Zinke opening, which will be good.
Just good anchor tenants that
he's got Ralph's and CVS and all that kind of stuff. Subway, a surf shop. Across the way, you have hundreds of tenants. I mean, you've got hundreds of tenants. We could name them, but we're not going to go through the list. Some good names, like legit. So for the first time, Malibu Civic Center area is leased. Very hard to find space. You cannot find a restaurant to save your life unless it's our property, and now we have one left. The reason is there's rules, not just in Malibu, but everywhere. Parking per code, wastewater.
Yeah.
I mean, go down the list.
Yeah.
Malibu is really bad. And then you've got coastal.
So you're dealing with the Coastal Commission probably.
I don't deal with it myself. I don't deal with it. But my client on that project, it really was two landlords, 18 years altogether, two different owners. And then they handed me the keys 4 years ago. We have weekly calls. We talk about the tenants we're after. There's many that we want to get. There's many that we have. We're getting a theater. I'm not really.
Is that right?
It's not done, but we're getting an offer and we're going to make it happen. We're going to do the Malibu Kitchen Deli Bakery. We've got a wine place where you can buy wine and alcohol, like to take to go. We've got.
Sounds like you're going to like Caruso this and raise the value of. Malibu.
We're going to raise the value of the area without a doubt. I mean, it's going to be like. People are going to have extra reason to go to Malibu. So imagine we have, if you look at the Country Mart, you've got Lucky's and these all little cute little restaurants. Those are 400 feet each. We've got 10,000 feet. We have 4 restaurants, the ice cream, the coffee, that kind of
Country Mart, I go there a lot because I go to Little Beach House. And afterwards, I'm like, oh, I want to get an affogato at that coffee place, but there isn't really anything to eat. Like, by the time I'm done going to Fred Siegel, Double RL, Faherty, if I'm saying that right, and Faherty, thank you, and that one store, that one men's store that has all the free and easy stuff. I forget the name of it.
Big and tall.
I'm out of there. I'm hungry, and I'm not.
Taverna Tony's.
Sun Life Organics is there. Taverna Tony's.
Oh, I like Taverna Tony's, but
which is
not.
It's fun, but. All I'm saying is ours will be an extra place to go get more, plus great retail brands. Like we're talking to a few luxuries that are just cool. We're doing Frankie's Bikinis. Do you know what that is?
No.
Francesca owns this Frankie's Bikini. She's very popular from Malibu, millions of followers on Instagram, friends with all the right people, you know, that are important and influential today. She's got it's called Frankie's Bikinis, but it's upscale women's resort wear, swimwear.
I think I saw an ad for this recently.
It's her first it's a 10-year deal in a prime corner of our property. She's in Soho now on a pop-up, but this is like a 10-year deal. So we've got a lot of like Cotton Citizens going in and La Labo we're working with.
I mean, this sounds like it will be a new destination.
It will.
For Malibu.
And by the way, we don't look at it as like against anyone else. It's an extra
I think it drives business. One will drive to the other.
We just want people to come and enjoy themselves in Malibu. Anyway.
Now, are you going to continue doing what you do, and this is just going to be a side hustle, a career side hustle?
I'm old right now. I'm 92. Just kidding. But I am 51 years old. I'm 51 years old. I think I'm a lot younger, but I love what I do. I don't see myself changing it. I just love what I do. So.
And then, do you own any commercial property?
I owned Malibu Village, and I did own some properties years ago in Melrose Place and Robertson, and sold my shares. So I've had a dabble. I do own residential properties. You know, I do. Funny enough, that's what I own. But
now, how did you decide
Malibu, which is also like my favorite? It's a love. What's that?
How did you decide to get into the residential game a few years ago?
So
I know what
there. Well, there is a story. I mean, I grew up. My father, rest his soul, passed away, by the way, a week ago, as you know.
Sorry for that, though.
Thank you. My father had a company called Shannon and Luchs Company, and he was the third generation of it. It was started in 1906 by his grandfather, and it had built a residential business. It had commercial and residential brokerage. The residential brokerage in 1991, when he sold it, had 2,800 brokers. It had 80 offices. It was big. And he sold it, and that was it. And I was in college just messing around. And then I wanted to get in the entertainment business. And my whole life, people thought I was going to get into work for him and take over in Washington, D.C. and all this stuff. Gone. Gave me the freedom to try to be an actor or a writer or whatever I was trying to do when I moved out here. I'm going to go to L.A. Got here, fell in love with this town, didn't want to leave. Eventually, 5 years later, got into real estate, where I've loved being in it forever. And Steven Schaefer and I were having dinner at Dantana's with some mutual friends. These two girls we knew are sisters, and they're from Maryland. And we were all talking about like Maryland and stuff. And next thing you know, he was mentioning something. I go, you might be my residential guy. And he knew my dad's company because he grew up in Maryland. They all kind of knew it from growing up. So it was kind of nice to be in LA and have people know the company. Yeah. And it led to us having a serious talk. And it has been a great benefit to me in commercial to be able to say to someone, oh, I have a residential partner. Now, if I didn't have that partner and I was at Dantana's or Craig's or some restaurant and someone walked up and goes, hey, I need a house. Do you do residential? If I said your name, let me refer you to have a great guy. They'd be like, oh, it's cool. I know someone. If I say to them, I do it, it just leads to a more. And then I bring in Steven because he's my actual residential partner. And then he knows how to do contracts. He actually reads every line. He's very smart. And just,
I like Steven a lot.
Thank you. He's a great addition to me, And
you see what a little Tana's veal palm will do.
I like Tana's. I do like it.
Good place.
So Ben mentioned before, you dominate a city that spreads over 500 square miles. What would you say is or are some of your X factors? Like what separates you from the rest? Because you are probably like 9 to 1.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I don't know. I guess the answer is like when you love something enough there's some sayings that if you really love it, it doesn't feel like work. It's all it is. It's not I'm not planning it. It's just, I'm a workhorse. I do work. I don't go on the vacations I should. I'm not traveling the world right now.
You have 2 phones here, both of which
One
keep
is an
ringing.
email. One's
2
an email.
phones. So you get a call every 4 to 7 minutes. How do you handle those calls? Because I'm overwhelmed by emails, and I read that you get uncomfortable if you don't return every email in the same day.
Well, yeah, because you can't wake up the next morning and have hundreds of emails. It's just, that is one thing I have to do.
You got to clear the box out.
Got to clear it.
Don't you get a lot of junk?
I'm better clearing emails than I might be on returning actual messages on the phone.
So do you make
Wow.
the mail icon or the mail app? It gives you stress if the badge says that you've got emails.
I just have to get through to the. I have
0?
like 110 saved, let's say. I just have to get down to that number every night, 110. Because I still have those 110. I have to kind of sort through more, but every night it'll say like 500. And then I got to get down to the 110.
I'm going to show you mine for a second.
Wait, is an assistant tagging them to save? I'm the same way as he is. Do you know why? Do you know why? So I used to be like you, but I
don't know if they can
obviously
see this
read
number.
the important ones. But for that badge to go down, I got to open or
6
hit delete
figures.
the ones I don't want to open. And I think if you add that up, it's too much time I'm giving away.
Don't you get so much junk? Oh, we get hundreds of junk emails a day.
So it takes you a second, and then it's gone. And I make sure that I just click open and let it go. I don't delete swipe. I just open, and then I keep clearing and bringing it up to the top.
That's what I used to do.
So your X factor
I might
is
not. Maybe I'm
You're
right or wrong.
very
I just do it.
successful. I'm not as successful as you are. So maybe I need to make sure I'm reading.
Everyone has their own method. Everyone has their own thing.
So your X factors really are knowledge and passion.
Yeah, as we wrap up here, what advice would you give to someone considering getting into commercial in the market we're in?
I just had lunch with a guy today who left a company. He's 29 and he wanted to have lunch. I didn't know why. He's a client. He worked for a landlord. All of a sudden he says, I've been let go. And I'm looking for advice from people I respect. And I was like, that's cool, man. When I was 29, I was figuring it out. I had a guy, I was in a parking lot and there was like this old light blue Corniche Rolls with Maryland license plates on it. Some cool dude sitting there just like waiting. His wife was doing something and he was just sitting in the car. I said, hey, I'm from Maryland. He goes, no way. We start talking and the guy, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. This was even before I was 29. This is like 23 or 4. I remember the guy saying to me, whatever you choose to do, kid, it's going to take 5 years before you make real money and like own your craft and all, whatever he was saying. And I was like, I would never want to wait 5 years to make. It's not about before you make $1. It takes time to build. So if you find something you like and you can take time and allow it and not be intimidated by all these other people driving fancy cars and living in big houses, just do your own way. Imagine this. Imagine you sell one house and it's $10 million and you did it all by yourself. No one even knew about it, but you made X dollars. You made 200 grand or whatever the number. You just crushed it. You just did a deal and you've now got money. It's you against you. Who cares about everyone else? You live your life. You just made 200 grand. Go to the beach for the day and go and drink a freaking smoothie or have a tequila shot. Whatever, do your thing and then go do it again. So as you compete with yourself is my advice. Like, don't be intimidated by everything going on around you. There's a real estate convention in Vegas in May every year. When I go to that thing, I look around like, oh my God, like it's intimidating. I don't even realize what I've become when I'm at that thing. I'm a little ant. You know, luckily people come up and then you start talking and they make you feel good. But when you're walking in a room of 50,000 people doing in real estate, you're like, this is not okay. So don't be intimidated is advice. I told the 29-year-old kid today, I say kid, he's a bro. I like the guy. He's just like a normal, I could hang out with him. I think he's a great guy. But my advice to him was, some of it's luck. Some of it's being in the right place, getting on the right team. There's no written rule. But if someone they want to do something, they should go out and seek it. It doesn't mean they're going to get what they want, but you have to throw yourself out there and meet as many people that will meet you, because something really probably will come from it. Mm-hmm. Then it's luck if you're on the right team. If you're do something, something has to happen by chance that gets you into it. But if it does happen and you're pumped, then that will carry you, could be forever. Yeah. I'm pumped forever because of one lease I did in 2003 that was exciting on Rodeo that led to me doing 150 deals on Rodeo. It was like exciting and I wouldn't stop then. It just became like madness.
So what's your advice for people who, when you take a hit, in that big lease you don't get, someone else, Human Mabubi gets the lease.
I love Human.
I love Human.
It happens. You have to be able to
endure,
bounce back up. I'd like to think that when one doesn't, that something else will. And if it's not true, you should convince yourself it's true, because it will make you wake up in the morning excited.
Yeah, I think that generates the next door opening, is you believing that it will.
Yeah, and it really does. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you just have to do your best to have your head on your shoulders and not get discouraged, and know that if you do it long enough, good things will start happening.
You've already mentioned now the areas that obviously are the hottest areas. Maybe it's Malibu where you're involved. Any other areas that you feel are hot right now, and then any others you predict may be hot in the next handful of years?
If you go to jayluchs.com and give me $20, I will then tell you all the future areas. I'm just kidding.
Sure. I'd do that for $20.
I'm kidding. People do ask a lot, what's the next area? And depending
they
who
ask
it is,
us all the time
it's
too.
It's Van Nuys. That's the secret. But
by the way, Sherman Oaks is blowing up too.
There are areas like Studio City and the Valley, which in terms of the residential community, it's crazy.
Whole Foods, Hi-Ho, lots of
there's really not enough retail space to go change every area. Like Malibu is one of the few examples of this 100,000 foot project. Go try to find that in any other areas. So it's not easy, but there are different pockets of every city. LA has 10 or 12. It has the hipster pockets, which are like Abbot Kinney and Venice Beach and Silver Lake and downtown or whatever they are. You have those. You've got West Hollywood, which is a little bit of everything. I think it's the mecca of fashion, meeting art, meeting entertainment. I mean, it's a very important city. And food. West Hollywood's a very important. So is Beverly Hills, of course. And then I think Malibu is the special, magical place that's almost underrated, even though it's one of the most famous names in the world. It's 35 to 45 minutes from most of us in LA. You can go for the day. You're not driving to the Hamptons. You're not driving on Route 27 from south to east and not able to move for 3 hours. Just driving in Malibu. There is traffic on PCH, but it's a special place. All of our beaches, doesn't have to be Malibu. I encourage people to go to a beach and get the fresh air, regardless of where it is. Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica, Venice Beach. I mean, we live here. It's what kept me here. I was sitting on the ocean in Santa Monica at a bench in August of '95, going to NBC in New York to work as a page at Rockefeller Center. It's all I wanted in college. Went to school at University of Virginia, did all these classes in advertising and whatnot, got into this thing and turned it down because I could not leave this incredible town. I was sitting on a bench looking out towards Malibu on the ocean, and I can't leave. So, I just think there's something therapeutic about a little time on a beach.
You're like Nick Nolte in Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
I'm not like surfing. I'm just talking about just beach time and fresh air.
Yeah.
Well, and as we wrap up here before we take us out here,
lightning round.
As a Maryland alum, can you confirm the pronunciation of the capital is either Baltimore or Baltimore?
By the way, I'm from the University of Virginia was my alma mater. Is that whatever the word?
But
I'm
the
from Maryland. But I'm from DC side, Potomac, Bethesda. But the Baltimore side would say Baltimore.
But isn't the capital, in fact, Frankfurt?
Annapolis.
Annapolis, that's right.
Yeah.
I tried to trick you, and I fucked up the punchline.
So obviously he's more successful because he doesn't have kids or a wife. I have no time.
Darn it.
You're unmarried, never been married?
Right. Came close once or twice in my life.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I've heard about all those stories.
When I grow up, maybe.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I don't know how.
Weird question to ask at the end.
It's okay.
Last meal.
Yeah.
What would your last meal be? Would it be Dantana's?
It'd be a combination of places. Am I allowed to say a couple at one time?
No, we're not rep by anyone yet.
It would include a Lily's burrito, breakfast burrito from Malibu. It would include Ready Chick from the Brentwood Country Mart, barbecue chicken, French fries, and a large Coke. And it would probably include a Caesar salad and cappuccino ice cream from Dantana's.
Love that.
They do have that Caesar.
Kill the Caesar.
It's so good.
Kill the Caesar and the veal parm. What about packing? How do you pack? Are you a guy last minute guy? You travel a lot? Pack at the last minute? You leave a suitcase packed for 3 weeks afterwards like I do?
No, it's usually...
It's efficiency.
I'm at a dinner. I'm like, I got to go home. I'm packing for tomorrow. I got to go by. And then I forget something.
Last minute.
But I do figure it out. I've been going lately back east a lot more. And I just did one bag and did not want to lose a bag underneath. I lost a bag at a wedding this summer in June traveling. And that was just a pain.
What about a fun activity in the city? What do you do for fun?
Well, I truly think it's fun to put my windows down, drive on PCH, and play my music. Like that's an activity to me. Photography. I grew up with a camera in my hand, a 35 millimeter camera. It's also a true love and a passion. I have a lot of pictures. I on my Instagram, I have fun with it. I have a
Jay Luchs. You don't smile in the photos of you though.
Of me?
Yeah, the photos of you, you're rarely smiling.
I don't like my smile, maybe.
You have.
I don't have the white teeth.
Wonderful smile.
Thank you, sir.
A great demeanor, huh? There's a great disposition going on.
Sorry, this
here.
guy turns into a rabbi when he gets hungry.
I am a little hungry. So this is your dream career, or is there something that you would be doing now? You could do anything in the world.
I probably would take more time to travel. I would just do that. I certainly see all the great things everyone's been doing all summer and every summer. I'm not the best at going to those places. I love where I live. I have been to some good places.
Home address.
But I love Los Angeles is what I mean.
Sure.
So I'd probably actually travel more, but I also am, and just the phone thing and emails and the time difference, I'm a little bit of a wuss about traveling. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I don't, but I don't take advantage enough.
You work very hard. You're a workaholic. You love what you do. You have a passion for it. You have an ability to spot the right tenants for the right places. And that probably comes with years of having that passion and dedication to curating the neighborhood and not just worried about the one client.
Love it. Seriously, thank you. You summed it up.
You know what's weird? I just noticed about Zach is that like
is it my eyebrows?
Sometimes like my girlfriend will be like, you know, her mom's from New York. So when her mom is around other New Yorkers, her accent returns after she's been living in Portland for decades on decades. When we have another Jew on this show, Zach gets real Jewy, and that explanation that he just made.
What did I
thought
do?
He was
now
moments away from being like, I sliced up some watermelon and cantaloupe. Like, I just don't understand.
You start to camouflage with the person you like. Okay, maybe that's why you're seeing it with Jay. I actually like him.
Jay,
thank you for this, man. It's fucking.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, seriously. For someone who has whose phone has rung every few minutes during this short time together, it is obviously, your time is extremely valuable. So we not only appreciate you coming here and sitting with us, but also sharing your story, your insights, and also your passion for curating tenants with landlords and communities because of how much you love the city, just like we do. I'm like you. I'm not from here. I fell in love with the city, and I know Zach, who grew up here, he had tough times. He grew up in Beverly Hills. He's
not from here.
He okay. He does
the streets of London.
Yeah, you can hear his accent. So I'm hopeful that we get to do this. Oh my God, his phone's ringing again. I'm hopeful we get to do this again, spend more time with you. Really want to come over and have some salted caramel, if that's okay.
You're invited.
Thank you.
And hats off to you too. And the show I watched was great. I liked a lot of the realness on it. At first, I didn't know what to expect, and then it was great. I hats off to you guys.
Thank you. Zach's on season 2, and it's going to be bonkers.
Okay.
And this year we're 10 episodes, not 8. So
I thought for a second you were talking about the podcast.
No. So guys,
we're excited about
this. Is Jay Luchs, of course, a world famous dominator of commercial real estate here in one of the most important and special real estate locales in the world. Jay, where can they find you online?
Well, there's Jay Luchs, JayLuchs.com. You can find me there or DM me on Instagram.
Okay, cool. I'm seated next to at Zach Goldsmith 24. I am at Ben Bellac. This is another episode of To Live and Buy in Los Angeles.
A record-breaking episode. Super bien.